In the case of the Marvellettes, Gladys, Catherine, and Wanda hadn't performed in any professional capacity either together or apart since 1969 through 1970. That don't mean shit. Y'all picked up that lady who was living in her car and they gave her a ball gown from David's Bridal, and she sang "Nothing You Can Do 'Cause I'm Stuck Like Glue to My God." Oh, my life, be waiting for you. No, how you do. Smokey Robinson had long wanted to do a solo project with Wanda, and his idea was a collection of older Motown songs that were B-sides or had otherwise been overlooked. Although the album was a solo outing for Wanda with the Adantes serving as background vocalist, Wanda's name did not have marketing value. To the general public, the Marvellettes did not have an individual identity like the Supremes with Diana Ross or the Vandellas with Martha Reeves. Outside of people in the industry and die-hard fans, few knew that Gladys and later Wanda were the lead singers. They only knew the group as the Marvellettes. That's why David Ruffin wanted to be David Ruffin and the Temptations. That's why Smokey Robinson wanted to be Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. But that was Berry Gordy's idea. Okay, so I'm going to be honest about the David Ruffin and the Temptations. I believe that if Otis wasn't in place, that would have probably happened. But because Otis was the guy, just like Gladys was the girl for the Marvellettes, there was no way that Berry Gordy was going to allow David Ruffin to take the shine away from Otis. I said it, goddammit. Now, it could be Otis Williams, and what was Otis Williams' original group? Otis Williams and the Contemporaries or whatever it was. But it's not going to be the David Ruffin and the Temptations. Never. If it was going to be Otis Williams, answer yes. But David Ruffin, fuck no. Outside of people in the industry and die-hard fans, few knew that Gladys and later Wanda were the lead singers. They only knew the group as the Marvellettes. Therefore, for marketing purposes, the album was released as The Return of the Marvellettes on September 15th, 1970. But girl, here's the goop. The LP's cover featured Wanda 8 months pregnant atop a white horse with two women on either side on black horses. Both women reported to have been Billie Ray Calvin and Brenda Joyce Evans of The Undisputed Truth, are airbrushed beyond recognition in the photograph. Given how the album was to be marketed as a Marvellettes record, Catherine was asked to take part in the photo shoot for the LP's cover, but she declined. Let me tell you what Catherine said. Kiss my ass. If I'm not good enough to sing the background, even though, shout out to the Adantes, but if I'm not good enough to sing the background on something that is mine with my name on it, why the fuck should I grace you all with my presence on the cover? I don't know why not. The Supremes did it. That Mary Wilson, she'll do anything. Okay. But the Mary Wilson and the Cindy Bird song were definitely singing on whatever show that was to Love Child. And that was not them, child. They was on stage singing like they was in the church choir to Love Child. And them niggas ain't sing not a note. The album opened with So I Can Love You, initially a hit single for the Chicago-based sister trio, The Emotions, in the spring of 1969. Next came Marionette, which was issued as a single on November 3rd, 1970, but failed to chart. while every other song that Smokey Robinson was working with soared. I don't know. They don't like her. They didn't like her. The Marvellettes as an entertainment entity was non-existent in the 1970s, as neither Gladys Catherine nor Wanda performed in any professional capacity. Indirectly, the Marvellettes' greatest contribution to Motown in the 1970s came in the form of Gladys Knight and the Pips' hit song, I Don't Wanna Do Wrong, which reached number 2 on the Billboard R&B chart and number 17 on the pop chart in the spring of 1971. A sad chapter in the Marvellettes' history occurred on January 7th, 1980, when Georgiana Marie Tillman Gordon died at her mother's home in Inkster at age 35 after a long battle with lupus and sickle cell anemia. When Georgiana's illnesses forced her to leave the Marvellettes in 1965, she stayed with Motown as a secretary for a few years before the company moved to California. Like I say from time to time that Motown or Bertie Gordy is not all bad, right? But hold on, let me get something so I can read it to y'all. Y'all, I had to send it to all my Judys and my sister, because I wanted them to understand what the meaning of toxic was. And what it says is, according to psychology, toxic is not when someone treats you badly. Toxic is when they're bad to you on some days and good on others. It's when they're so inconsistent with their love that you spend most of your time wondering if you should stay or leave. Baby, that's toxic. So anyway, I'm glad that Bertie Gordy allowed Georgiana to still earn an income. After Bertie Gordy moved to California, she became a secretary for Plymouth State Hospital, and she had attended Wayne State Community. She also had a son with Billy Gordon by the name of Darren. In the spring of 1983, Motown produced a 25th anniversary television special to celebrate the label's history, complete with a gathering of the artists from Motown's glory years who returned for one night. The show's executive producer, Suzanne de Passe, who was now running Motown Productions, had the daunting task of securing the participation of most of the famous Motown alumni, most of whom were happy to appear. However, Diana Ross, now recording for RCA Records, wanted nothing to do with the show and only reluctantly appeared after word leaked to the press that she would be a special guest star. In addition, Marvin Gaye appeared only after Bertie Gordy himself asked him to, and Michael Jackson initially refused to participate, changing his mind only after Gordy agreed to let him sing Billie Jean, a song that had nothing to do with Motown. Baby, but it made Motown 25 one of the most memorable moments on television. Other one-time Motown artists such as Mabel John, former Temptations David Ruffin, and Eddie Kendricks, the Contours, and the Marvellettes were not invited to perform. Mabel John, who was there in the beginning with Sugar Ray. Other one-time Motown artists such as Mabel John, former Temptations David Ruffin, and Eddie Kendricks, the Contours, and the Marvellettes were not invited to perform. A case can be made that John's tenure at Motown was relatively short, and the decision to omit Ruffin and Kendricks from the invitee list was an easy one because the current lineup of the Temptations was performing that night. Was the Temptations reunion before or after? So, okay, I guess because David Ruffin and Eddie Kendricks was showing their ass, but what's his name? Damn, it's my sister's boyfriend. I forget his name. You know, sexy corduroy pants. I forget his name. Dennis Edwards. He showed his ass too. But y'all let him perform. A case can be made that John's tenure at Motown was relatively short, and the decision to omit Ruffin and Kendricks from the invitee list was an easy one because the current lineup of the Temptations were performing that night. I don't know. Who's this guy, Mark Taylor? I don't know. I don't know about that one, Mark Taylor. One can argue that the Contours and the Marvellettes were defunct groups. In the case of the Marvellettes, Gladys, Catherine, and Wanda hadn't performed in any professional capacity, either together or apart, since 1969 through 1970. That don't mean shit. Y'all picked up that lady who was living in her car, and they gave her a ball gown from David's Bridal, and she sang "Nothing You Can Do 'Cause I'm Stuck Like Glue to My Guy." That's I don't know what that don't make no sense. All of the Motown acts who appeared that night still performed, and in some instances occasionally recorded as a means of earning a living. Yes, the Miracles by now had retired and the Supremes had broken up, but their respective former lead singers, Smokey Robinson and Diana Ross, were still contemporary recording artists in 1983. Wait, pause. Okay, pause. Didn't Adam Ant and Linda Ronstadt appear on Motown 25? So why the fuck couldn't Michael Jackson sing Billie Jean? But I'll move forward. A point can also be made that Wanda may not have been in well enough condition to take to the stage, and that Catherine, if asked, may have refused to perform. What? They grabbed the Murray Wells or the Martha Reeves, whatever one it was, out of the goddamn car. The bitch was homeless. She ain't had no clothes or wig. All of the Motown acts who appeared that night still performed, and in some instances occasionally recorded as a means of earning a living. Yes, the Miracles by now had retired and the Supremes had broken up, but their respective former lead singers, Smokey Robinson and Diana Ross, were still contemporary recording artists in 1983. A point can also be made that Wanda may not have been in well enough condition to take to the stage, and that Catherine, if asked, may have refused to perform. However, had the Marvellettes appeared on the show, they would not have been prominently featured. Three of the label's top acts from the 1960s, Martha Reeves, Murray Wells, and Junior Walker, were treated like mere sidebars to the Motown story, reduced to singing brief verses of their biggest hits, Heatwave, My Guy, and Shotgun, during a medley segment. Had the Marvellettes been asked to perform, they probably would have appeared in this segment, singing a brief passage of Please Mr. Postman. I mean, it might have been true, but you deserved it. It was yours. Suzanne de Passe did not come to Motown until 1967, by which time the Marvellettes were long removed from their position of importance near the top of Motown's totem pole. And just 2 years later, the group would break up. It is quite conceivable that by 1983, Motown Record Corporation in general, and de Passe in particular, had virtually forgotten all about the Marvellettes. Catherine states, with Motown 25 and Motown 40, we were just completely ignored. Later that year, or early into the year following Motown, I had the opportunity to see Marvin Gaye and talk with him, And he asked me, Kat, why weren't y'all at the Motown 25?
Oh, my life.